Hey, this is Jasmine. Have you ever wanted to know what is the latest and greatest of businesses, entrepreneurs, musicians, and artists around the world? Have you ever wondered, why did they make that choice, where they're going, and how can I support them? Well, you come to the right place. If you haven't heard already, I have some amazing guests all the way from Africa and as close as Texas, where I live. Check out Noise Zion podcast on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple, iHeart, and 30 plus other platforms. This guest and I are honoring the October Breast Cancer Month. Today's guest is Randi Brown, organizer of Warrior Artisan Coaching. She has the opportunity to share her story and let others know that they are not alone in their hard season. We talk about the importance of art in mindset strengthening, being busy living life with metastatic breast cancer. Please give a warm welcome to ever-blessed Randi Brown. Hello, Randi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you today?
I'm doing fine.
Randi. I like that. So it's like, it's almost like a unisex name. Was there a reason behind you being named Randi?
So I think as the story goes, my parents were kind of expecting a boy and they wanted to use both my dad's dad and my mom's dad's names. And my dad's dad was Randolph and my mom's dad is Charles. And so I became Randi Charlene and Randi with an I. And then I have 4 siblings. The next one is actually Charles Randolph.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So there's about 7 years between us. And so, I think he and I are the closest in age. He's the closest in age to me. Then my other siblings are 11 years and 12 years younger than I am. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of a big gap. So he and I are probably I'd say he's probably the one that I feel the closest to, but I love them all. It's been wonderful to be a part of a big family.
Yeah, you're lucky. There's pros and cons when it comes to having siblings for sure.
For sure. Oh, absolutely.
I've heard other people's stories. I'm an only child, so I didn't have the interesting, adventurous life of having siblings, but I always wanted to have an older brother because like in my mind, like I just wanted someone to teach me how to deal with cars, or even if it was an older sister, like if she was into cars, I'm like, let's do this. I like to get my hands dirty, whichever.
That would have been cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately I didn't head towards that passion as much as I wanted to. Now I'm just like regretting it because there's just so many things that now that I'm dealing with cars all the time. I'm a medical courier, so I drive all the time. I feel like I might just go ahead and get a CDL, the type of driving that I do. For your story, I'm getting a little teary-eyed, so I do apologize.
That's okay.
It's just very emotional for me to see people go through so much. And I know it was probably just completely shock to you. I wanted to know exactly, because I know you said on your website, you're like, so being busy living life and being a metastatic breast cancer warrior. I love that, warrior.
Absolutely.
I love that. It's such a strong, powerful word. I don't like the word survivor. It kind of reminds me of those reality TV shows.
Yeah.
Like it's just so meh. But warrior, I just feel like thinking like Xena, kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Take the listeners down your journey as to how you found out about this.
So I was diagnosed with breast cancer in December of 2016 and had a little spot on the inside of my breast that looked like mastitis. And I was like, I'm not nursing. Typically, anybody that I've ever known that has had mastitis, they're nursing. And I'm like, I've got a 6-year-old. That is not a thing that's happening. Like what? So went for my yearly physical, and my primary care doctor, she wasn't worried, and she'd been my primary care doctor long enough that I felt like if she wasn't worried, I didn't need to be. But she said, I'm going to give you an antibiotic. It's probably just an infection, but I'm going to send you for an ultrasound just to err on the side of caution. And I said, okay, sounds good. So about 2 weeks later, I had the ultrasound, and the ultrasound tech kept looking in the complete opposite side of the breast. They kind of, when they're diagnosing it, they look at it like a clock. And so the spot that I went to the doctor and pointed out was at 4 o'clock, and she kept looking at 11 o'clock. And I was like, stop looking somewhere, stop looking for something that's not there. And she asked me 3 times if I'd been referred to a surgeon. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like screaming at her, like, no, why would I be referred to a surgeon? And then she said, I'm going to go have the radiologist look at this. And I was like, all right. It was in that moment that I just knew. And I was like, all right, this is a thing that's going to happen, and we're going to kind of get through it. And I pride myself, maybe a little too pridefully, on being the one you want in a crisis. Like, I'm the one that my mom calls. And not that she can't handle it, but just to kind of have that support. I'm the one in different work situations when I worked in direct care, things would happen and I would just respond and handle the situation. That's just always how I've been. And so in that moment, it was like, all right, I need a plan. And once I have a plan, then I can move forward. It's just going to be a thing. We're going to do the treatment, and then I'm going to be okay. So the radiologist wanted to see me and said to me that to think of an inch as 24 centimeters. The spot that they found was 16. And I was like, that's pretty big. And so he recommended that I go see a surgeon and have a biopsy done. And then they would send that off for pathology and to find out what it was. So we did all that, jumped through all of those hoops, and it came back breast cancer. So then we started a whole list of diagnostic tests they do, CT scans and bone scans and breast MRIs and all of that to find genetic testing, to find out exactly what was going on. My genetic testing came back BRCA2 positive. And so that put me in a position where I had to just make decisions based on the fact that increased my risk of more cancer, a couple of different types of cancers. And so all of that, January 17th of 2017, I started chemo, and we did 5 months of chemo. I had a double mastectomy with aesthetic flat closure. Even since I made that choice, it has now become a actual medical, it's in medical books as an option for women. And so I just, it feels like I'm a part of something, knowing that there are other women who are presented that option. I presented the option to my surgeon. I was like, this is what I want to do. And she was very supportive. The only thing she asked of me was that I meet with 2 different plastic surgeons and just see if maybe I would change my mind. And I didn't. But she was very supportive. I've had an amazing team. I feel really blessed and lucky. I've heard some absolute horror stories from other women. And so I feel very blessed and lucky to have had the medical team that has supported me the last almost 5 years. So we finished treatment at the end of 2017 and was given the all clear. And I was like, all right, it's time to kick life in the pants. Got to make up for this year.
Right.
And then in January of 2019, I started having pain in my left shoulder and went through several rounds of there are so many hoops that you have to jump through for so many reasons, because insurance wants things done this way, or because, all of these different reasons. And so I ended up having to go back to my primary care doctor 3 times. And finally, on that 3rd time, she said, you know what, I think you've done the physical therapy, you've taken the steroids, let's go get an MRI. So went for an MRI, and it lit up like a Christmas tree. There was a big old, my oncologist described it as bone-eating disease. And that's, certainly something you want to hear at 8 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, not at all.
What does that mean? And so I had to have another biopsy to biopsy the bone and see exactly what kind of cancer it was, what kind of disease it was. And it ended up being the exact same markers that my breast cancer had, which is why I'm considered metastatic. That's what metastatic means, is that it's disease that started in one place and then it moved its place of origin. And so words that, that are out there that are floating around that you never expect to hear. I had the tumor removed. I now have a carbon fiber plate and 9 screws in my shoulder and a little bit of medical cement. And then, kind of thought we were okay at that point. And then my tumor markers kind of elevated again. And so I've got spots. I've had a spot in my skull, spot in my spine. It's literally at this point, it's kind of all over. I've got a couple of spots in my liver, my hip. And so my oncologist and I were joking that she was asking me exactly where it hurt. And I pointed to it and she's like, well, the only option for that spot in your hip is some radiation. And I was like, let's hold off on radiation. I really don't want to do that again right now. And she goes, well, then it's just going to be a pain in your ass. And I said, okay, I can deal with that. And it kind of is like, it's just a pain in the butt. And sometimes it doesn't hurt at all. And then sometimes it's incredibly painful. But that's kind of the journey, like medically, that's the journey that I'm on. Just started my 12th chemo 3 weeks ago. And so, kind of my body's adjusting to that. But as far as, living life, that's what I do. I try every day to, live in the moment and embrace whatever we're doing. I have an 11-year-old who is amazing. And we homeschool. And so I get to spend all kinds of time with her. And she and I like to travel. So we're always planning our next trip. And so I have 2 nephews and a niece and another nephew on the way that I just love spending as much time with as I can. And just an amazing support system that's just around me and loves me and is just there to just be there. And I think that's what we like. I feel like we as a society, that's what we need. We need our group, our tribe. And so it's important to me to acknowledge that I have that. And I'm so thankful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that you were able to have such a supportive foundation. And I was going to call you like the new Iron Woman who is just invincible.
Oh man.
Cross between Terminator and Iron Woman,
I love it. Yeah. It's one day at a time. Some days I'm tired and I don't feel like doing anything. And I've learned that that's okay. We need to honor that. If our bodies are telling us to rest, we need to rest. And it's okay. We don't have to stay so busy. And I like to think that I'm pretty busy, but at the same time, I schedule a rest day every week. I try really hard not to put anything else in that day, but just resting and just kind of being there and supporting my daughter in her schoolwork and just kind of not thinking about all of the things that are going on and just allowing my body to just rest. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's kind of the thing that I've learned is that it's okay. It's okay to rest.
Because while you were talking, I was like, oh my gosh, because I've seen some awesome pictures of women who have gone through the double mastectomy and they've got these awesome tats. I don't know if you are into it. I'm a tat girl. If you can't see it already.
I'm trying to, where's mine? Yeah, I've got them all over.
So I was just thinking right out the blue, oh my gosh, if you haven't thought of it, I'm just going to throw it out there as a suggestion because they have beautiful tat. The artists are just elaborate and
yes.
It tells a story about each person. Mm-hmm. And it's just, oh my gosh. It's
I saw one the other day. I saw two new ones recently. So when I first went flat 4 years ago, I felt like everybody was getting flowers and I'm like, I'm not a flower girl. What am I going to do? And so I've thought about it. I love the idea of a mandala because I feel like the story behind a mandala is that it's very centering and I've actually talked with an artist about possibly doing one and incorporating waves and mountains because I'm from the country and I'm from the mountains and I can see them and they're very grounding for me. But then the ocean, I grew up going for vacation as a family. And it's just something about the ocean, salt water just clears my head. And so I'd love to incorporate that. But the other day I saw two that I saw that really stood out to me. This woman had a phoenix done
Oh,
And it was just, I
wow.
was like, oh, that's so cool, because it's true. Like you feel like a phoenix is, to me, a phoenix, like just thinking about it, a phoenix is a really good representation of coming out of treatment and like going on with the next stages of your life. It's like, yes, that makes it, and it was just beautifully done. And then the next one that I saw was like, it was all black, and it was almost like kind of lacy, and just, it was very feminine, but it was also very strong. And I was like, it's just, to me, I love looking at it, because it's this, to me, for one, I mean, like, I have every tattoo that I have tells a story. And so to tell this part of my story in a tattoo on my chest, it's exciting. To like, the thought of doing it's exciting. Like, I'm like, like, I can't wait, and I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, no, I love the idea of getting one done. It just hasn't happened yet. It's on the list.
Oh yeah, definitely do it. Oh my gosh, it'd be so beautiful to see. I just think art in general, and I believe that the body is a canvas. In some religions, they think that, it completely understandable. I respect that. But to me, I'm like, more is more. I just cannot wait to have like a 3/4 sleeve of everything, put like 90% of my body else tatted up. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love tats so much. Oh my gosh. You can become addicted to it too. And just,
Yeah.
and like you said, the story behind each is so unique, and it's customized to the person. Don't miss out on the opportunity. If you can, go for it, girl. That's what I'm just saying. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's definitely the plan. But I agree with you. You could definitely become addicted. I think I'm at like, so I have one across my back that it can go either way in like counting them, because it's a nautical star for each one of my siblings.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then it has like a ribbon that kind of weaves them together. And across, so there's a nautical star is black on one side, and then it's a color. So I chose the color of their birthstone for the color side. And then I had each one of them write their initial, well, all but one of them wrote their initials down for me. And so I have their handwriting on my back.
Cool.
With their star. And so I count each star. So that's 5 separate ones, because there's one for me and then all 4 of my siblings. And then like I have one on my foot and what. And so I think I'm at like 13 if you count it. And so like, I'm like trying to decide like what my next one's going to be. Like before my chat, I'm like, every time I go, I went on a trip, my daughter and I end the year on a trip. And so we went on a trip right after Christmas 2019. And we went to Wilmington, North Carolina. And before we left, we went to church on that Sunday morning. We had a guest pastor, and he was telling this story about like the whole sermon was about faith. And I was like, wow, okay, like, have you been like spying on me? And so like you wrote this sermon about me and like reminding myself to like have faith. And he was telling this story about this. His wife had this plant, and they called it Big Mama Jade. It was a big, huge jade plant. And they were watching TV, and the pot started, and some leaves or stems started to fall off of the jade plant. And he was like, oh, I guess it's time for Big Mama Jade to see the trash. And she like looked at him like, are you crazy? No, she just needs a bigger pot. That's why your stems are falling off. And I was like, I just need a bigger pot. Like when I'm feeling like it's time, it's kind of like that going to the next level. And so I actually designed a tattoo. I thought about it the whole way to Wilmington. It was like 6 hours. My daughter like nods off and she plays her video games. And so it's kind of by myself. Felt like I was by myself part of the time driving, and thought about it the whole time down there. And then like I started looking up pictures of jade plants and like little kind of almost like succulent pots. And so I actually got a tattoo based on that sermon, and it's a jade plant. And underneath it, it says, increase my pot, because I always want to be growing. I always want, whether it's my faith or knowledge about a subject, whatever, I always want to be growing. And so it just resonated so much with me. And I text my pastor's wife and sent her a picture, and she sent it to the guest pastor. And he's like, I've never had anybody get a tattoo based on a sermon.
That's how empowering it was. Yeah,
absolutely. I was like, but hey, I'm your girl. I mean, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Like, that's just how I am.
You go, girl. Absolutely. That is awesome.
Yeah. So that's probably like, I think that's probably my newest one. And it's probably my favorite. I don't know. They all have like sentimental value. So it's like, I can't say like in the moment that I got each one. I was 25 when I got my first one. I've had many best friends that just come into my life, but this girl and I had been best friends since we were like 14, and she passed away when I was 24. She was 25. And so we used to write letters back and forth. Like if we got in trouble and we couldn't talk to each other, like literally like mail each other letters. And so, or like for my birthday or whatever. And so I have like all these cards from her, and my very first tattoo was her handwriting. And she used to always sign the card. Our nicknames for one another were Hippie and Dippy. And so she was Dippy and I was Hippie. And it was actually pretty fitting. But so she would always say, "Stay happy, Dippy," or sometimes she'd sign her name Jess. And so I just took one of the cards with me to a tattoo parlor. And that was my very first tattoo. I knew that she would want me, even in sadness of losing her, she would want me to stay happy. And so it was like, all right, it seems fitting as my first tattoo.
That is so, I love that story. Wow. And I'm so sorry about the passing of a good friend of yours.
Thank you.
I was just thinking, like, when you were saying, like, oh my gosh, I had pet names for my best friend. I used to call her Lassie, and she used to call me Poodle because of my hair.
I went through a season when I finally got my hair back the first time. I went through probably a year to a year and a half where my hair was a different color. It was magenta. It was orange. It was purple. Purple, I think purple was the most repeated because I just loved, purple's my favorite color, but I just felt like, you know, if God had given us like crazy rainbow hair, he'd have given me purple hair. Like, it just was like, this fits my personality.
Yeah.
And so I was purple for the longest time. And then I had we found the spot in my skull and had to have radiation. And so radiation burns, just, you know, that's what it does. And so I lost hair in like a triangle.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was like, so I actually, my cousin she's one of the people that does my hair regularly. And I was like, could you just like touch this up so that it matches, so that it like, fits? And it really did look like I had like shaved this part on purpose.
Wow.
And so it was, but then I was like, as it was growing back in, I was like, you know what, I'm going to let it all grow out. I'm going to go natural, see what happens. And so probably for the last year or so, it's been like growing out and becoming more natural. And then of course, like new chemo and new hair loss. And I'm like, it's just hair. It'll grow back.
Yeah. My gosh. Yeah. Wow. Let's dig more into you to get to know. So I know we've had a big chunk of the story about how you came to in identifying the cancer and your, you know, just living life and moving forward and being that warrior. But I wanted to ask other couple of questions just to let the listeners get to know you a little bit more. Because I know that you are, besides being an awesome person, I know that you you have your own coaching business called Warrior Artisan Coaching. I love it because that's pretty much your journey embedded into your coaching. So what is the one thing you wish you knew at the onset of your career?
Well, I think with coaching, because it's so new, that I think because I've been learning so much about myself through the process of building the coaching program. I think the thing that I wish I had known before was that I really, this is my heart. I don't think I realized it until I started going through the process. And so going through the process, I worked with a business coach, kept talking about I want this thing that I'm going through, this journey, I want it to matter. And I want other women to know that they matter and that they have somebody who gets it, who's been there and is willing to just walk beside them. And so for me, the thing that I learned going through the process was that I put my art on the shelf when I got diagnosed in 2016. I have a business I'm a metalsmith and a jewelry designer. And so I started that business, I think we're like 8 years ago now. I love it. It's so much fun. But I put that on the shelf. I didn't do as much making and creating. And if I had not put it on the shelf, I feel like I would have come out of treatment a little more clear-headed. Mm-hmm. And so that's the thing that I wish I had known, not just about building a career off of my experience or based on my experience, but I wish I had known that it was okay to continue to do my art. Mm-hmm. And so that's the thing that I want, like artistic people tend to feel like they have to fit into a certain box or a certain bubble. And so it's so easy for kind of generalizing it and not wanting to step on any toes. But I think it's easy for us as artists to put things on the shelf and say, oh, I'll do that later. I'll start the podcast later. Like I'll write the blog later. But instead, like it's who we are. Mm-hmm. And so even in the middle of a crisis, like we need to honor ourselves even in the midst of a crisis. And so I think honestly, like that's the thing, like follow your heart. Again, like this is not a situation I would have asked for, but I feel like I have like the people that have come into my life and the people that have loved on me and supported me. And then the people that I'm able to that I've met and been able to like check on. And hopefully my hope and my goal is that I've encouraged them and made them feel supported. That's the thing that, I, even working with the business coach, she and I were talking one day about planners and like being the fact that we are planners and we have all of these things in our life. Did we take our medication today? Did we do some self-care? And I'm a huge advocate. Like, even if you take 5 minutes and drink your coffee by yourself in the quiet and just have that moment to just prepare for the day, or even a cup of tea at night and like prepare yourself for bed, that 5 minutes of like taking care of yourself is so important. And she's like, yeah, like, she has chronic illness. And so she's chronic pain. And so she's like, I have like 15 planners to get all of the things that I want in a planner. And I was like, yeah, me too. And then like we were talking about it. And so I designed a planner. I'm like, this is what, as a woman who has developed chronic pain and chronic illness because of treatment, and then also being on treatment, I was like, I need to be reminded to take my meds and drink my water and all of those things. So I just created the planner. I'm like, that's the thing. Like if the thing is not in front of you and you have this desire, like just do it and see what happens. Like within the coaching business, like I also like kind of became a graphic designer and designed a planner and designed a medical binder to like help you keep all of your medical documents and all of that together. Because what I realized is when it came time to like find the important medical document, I couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And so I created this binder. And so what I've done is I put it's a 3-ring binder and I've got like all of my medical information in there. And so should a crisis happen, my mom or my daughter, like they could just go find the binder. It's got the stickers on it and inside it, it's all of the information. And I think those are things that you don't realize you need until it happens, until that moment. And so it was like, but what if I have the planner and present it in a way that, hey, like, let's get this stuff organized before it becomes a problem.
For sure, because I was just thinking as you were talking, like there's so many things that we plan out. We plan out fire safety. Like if something happens and we need to have a fire drill escape procedure for the family. If something happens to the home, how do we meet each other outside of a designated location outside of the home if something happens where there is a disaster of the home? People do the drill for their families to do that. Some people, in school, they learn about active shooters. Mm-hmm. They talk about tornadoes where they go for shelter. I mean, right. We have our children and families prepare for the unexpected things.
Mm-hmm.
But they do happen because this is everyday situations that have, they have books on that. And, one of the things that I've been struggling with is, even though I know, tomorrow I might not be here, I've always prepared a will. I've even found ways to collect my own hair because I wanted to create my hair into diamonds for my children and my children's children, and all the generations before that I won't be here, that they get to wear a bracelet or a necklace or earrings of their great grandmother, at least
cool.
something like that. Yeah. And my eldest son, he was like, you should just be turned into a tree. And I'm like, and we just have this dark comedy about life and death,
Right.
But that's what we talk about. We just talk about it like it's a normal conversation, because it is. It's, even though we don't know how we're going to get to our end, the point is that when we're born, we begin to die. So it all depends on, what expedites that ending of life. But in the end, we all pass on. So I've always kind of like, nonchalantly just joke about it, but think about it until like the very end, and we don't anticipate it to happen.
Right.
But I agree with you. Like, I love the concept of you having it laid out, a section in your website that you have these medical binders and journals, like specifically for medical binders for child and adult, and journals that you have on there. And I wanted to let the listeners know exactly where they're able to learn more about this and how they can order it through your shop, if you provide a website for them.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So it's 3 words: Warrior Artisan Coaching.com, just kind of all spelled out together. It seemed like the easiest way to do that at the time, but now I'm like, maybe I could have shortened it. But so it's all 3 words. And it's got all the information on there. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it links to some jewelry as well. I can't remember if I did that or not, but I think I try to have it all like
cool. Because I'm a jewelry girl. I've never loved gold. I loved the silver, especially when it's customized. And if I could be one of your customers, I would love to see some of your jewelry.
Oh, that would be awesome.
If you're still doing it.
Oh, no, I am definitely. Yeah. Custom pieces are probably my favorite. I like to say that I tell your story in jewelry. It's really important to me that it fits you. Some of my favorite pieces have been custom, and I love it because I can remember one Christmas a few years ago, this lady wanted a necklace for her granddaughter. I guess it was her step granddaughter. But she wanted to honor her biological grandmothers in the necklace. And so we did like this, I did an infinity, and it was like this drape necklace. And it was like the first time I'd ever made one, but I loved how it turned out. And so it was like an infinity on the end, and it kind of wrapped around. And then on the other end, it had the birthstones of the grandmothers and the granddaughter kind of like draping. And so like they went through the infinity, and it just kind of like hung there. Whenever I see that customer, she's always like, oh, and my granddaughter. And like, she updates me on her life, and like, it's her favorite necklace. And I'm like, oh, that just like, that means so much to me that it tells a story. I wear bracelets, but I don't wear like charm bracelets, and I wear like bangles, and I have a necklace that I call my charm necklace. And so it's got, I cut out a wolf kind of howling at the moon, and it says mama on it because I've never resonated with being a mama bear. And so I'm a mama wolf. And so I made myself my own pendant. And then I have, I call it my flat chested totem. And it's actually like the trunk of a person with a flat chest. And I'm like, and it's just, it's those empowering things for me that tell my story. And so I think the custom pieces are definitely my favorite. So we can certainly talk about something.
Yeah, we're going to connect after this. I mean, because just when I mentioned about creating gemstones or diamonds from my ashes or hair, that would be awesome to fit that into your yeah,
that's so that's so cool. I'd never really even thought about that till you mentioned it. I'm like, that's cool. Like I should have my brother shaved my head today for me because it was just coming out, and he grabs a patch and he's like, do you want this? And I'm like, no, like I'm good. I don't, but now I'm kind of like, wait a minute, maybe I should go out in the woods where he cut my hair and see if I can get a couple pieces and that'd be really cool.
Now that our paths have crossed, we're intertwined in our journey.
Love
so we'll stay connected for sure. Absolutely. Well, I have a couple more questions. Got so many joyful stories to tell me. I just I don't know what to keep in or what to take out. What accomplishment are you most proud of?
Oh, wow. I think, so personally, I think being a mom is literally like the greatest thing in the world. And it's something that I never thought I would do. I've been the nanny, I've been, the babysitter, and I guess I just always thought I would take care of other people's kids, and that was fine. And because I loved it. And then I was kind of surprised by my daughter, and she'll get sassy with me and she's like, but she wanted a boy, because I did. When I found out I was having a girl, I cried, and she knows that. But I tell her often that there's no doubt in my mind that God gave me the baby I needed. He gave me the child. Like, she is literally the greatest thing in the world to me. I think on a personal level, like on a professional level, the most recent thing that I've done that I'm the most proud of is I helped spearhead a artisan collective in my county. And we actually opened a brick and mortar store in December of 2020. And we have, when we opened the shop, we had 7 different artists in our shop, and we now have 21. And so it's just having a community for the artists in my county, in my area, it's so wonderful to have customers come. We have repeat customers or customers that are traveling in the area come in and just they're in awe of just all of the art that we had. So on a professional level, I think that's probably the thing that the legacy that it's going to leave in the county, and not that it's mine specifically, but just that we have this group for artists. I just think it's so important. So I think professionally, that's probably the thing that makes me the happiest, and it's so much fun.
Yeah. Congratulations, man. Brick and mortar. That's beautiful. I love it. What county? Because maybe I might do a trip just because I love art.
So we're in Virginia, in Nelson County.
Okay.
We're in what is referred to as the county seat, right in downtown Livingston, and it's literally a half a mile strip, but it's just so sweet and so quaint. And again, to just be a part of helping breathe some life back into the downtown area, and to have this place where artists can present their material and their product and the things that they make, and then have people come in, and it's a great place for Christmas shopping or birthdays, and so it's just to be a part of it. It's fantastic. So we're in Livingston, Virginia, and it's a little map dot town, but I love it. I've lived here almost my whole life. I left long enough to find out that this really was home, and I needed to come back.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. Well, that's awesome. Yeah. What do you do to make yourself feel better?
Well, I think it depends on the type of bad day. If it's just kind of a mood and I need to kind of get myself out of it, one of my favorite things to do is just drive. And I have different playlists. And in fact, there was a season when if I started playing Pink, my daughter would say, "Oh, you're in a bad mood," and I'd be like, yeah, give me a minute. Let me listen to a couple of songs, and then I'll be okay. And I just love to drive down a back road and have my music blaring. And especially in the spring or the summer or the fall, when I can have the windows down, and it's not too cold. That's the thing. I call it my spot. And my daughter's like, I want to know where your spot is. And I'm like, no, you know. It's my spot. I go.
You pick your own.
Yeah, you can when you get a little older, I'll show you my spot, and then so the idea, and then you go find your own. And she was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, that's how this works. But I just go and it's down by the river and I'll just sit there and listen to the water flow. And sometimes it takes as little as like 5 minutes and I'm like completely snapped out of my mood. But if I'm just feeling bad and I just need to rest, I just give myself the time to rest. Like I'll take a nap or curl up with a book or those are like my two things. Again, like if it's just a mood thing, it's music all the way that like helps me kind of bust out of it. But if it's just like a feeling physically bad, I'll just give myself time to rest.
I think this will be a beautiful question because now that you've identified that you have a wonderful 11-year-old daughter, what is the single most important talent you would like your daughter to have?
Oh man, I think it comes back to her character, and I want her to be empathetic and to be caring. And she does that. She does that so well. Like whether it's I'm not feeling well or someone around her isn't feeling well, like she's the first person to like step in and help. And I just want her to know that that's okay. It's okay for her to be kind, and it's okay for her to be empathetic and to just love on people. And she loves people really well. And so I think that that's just something I want her to continue to grow as part of her character.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I was going to say, she's got a great mother to have it blossom her personality.
Thank you.
I think she's getting that from you. I mean, how do they say, they learn from what they see and so you've already given her good qualities. So that just tells you right there, you are that proud mama wolf, like you
Absolutely.
said.
Yeah, she's my she's my girl. Like we definitely have our moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, like you're driving me insane. But then but then like she'll be like, Mama, I just want to snuggle, or can we snuggle and watch a movie? And it's like those moments, like, again, like when we're traveling, like we'll be like we went to Georgia this past summer, and we were like laughing and singing along to songs the whole way. And it was just so much fun. I mean, any mother, like it's not perfect. Like I certainly don't want anyone to think that, but we definitely have those moments where I'm like, this is not going to work. Like I'm going to go to jail. Like this is not going to be good. And then, but then again, like if I'm not feeling well, she's like ready to jump in and help me. And, she helps around the house, and she's definitely on her way to being an amazing adult and just an amazing human being. So, yeah.
Very humble, very self-aware. And oh my gosh. I mean, this is a generation, this younger generation is me, myself, and who cares about anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's genuine. That's absolutely wonderful. Well, that's so cool. So exciting.
Yeah, I think, this was great. I really appreciate you having me. And like you said, like, I'm glad our paths crossed, and I'm excited to see like where our friendship can blossom. Like,
you never know. Road trip,
right?
Here we come. Road trip. Like, yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah, no. I was actually just talking about having never been to Texas, like just earlier today. So I'm all right, now I'm going to have to make it happen.
Yeah, go big or go home, like they say here. So
absolutely, yeah. That's actually one of my tattoos. My tattoo on my foot says "Go big or go home."
Oh, so, really? Well, then this is a match made in Texas, I guess.
I love it. That's great.
All right. Well, wonderful. It's been an honor. Thank you so much, Randi, for being a guest here. And you have a wonderful weekend and enjoy family and your lovely daughter.
I will. We're going to have a good time.
All right, cool. Well, take care.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to Noise Paloo Zion podcast. I'm Jasmine Castillo, also known as DJ Jim Jam. If you are wanting to be promoted on my podcast, please reach out to me if you are a small business, entrepreneur, musician, or artist. www.jasminecastillovoice.com. Stay tuned for the next upcoming episode.